Peace and love, everybody. I'm Royce Fletcher Thomason, back for another Sunday Hope and Healing session. Our topic for today is seeing a truer truth. Seeing a truer truth. And a lot of times lately, we've been sharing more kind of insights. Um, but we are also available every Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, both on Facebook and on YouTube at Matrix Healing on YouTube, Royce Fletcher Thomason, or Transcending the Matrix on Facebook. And we're here every Sunday at 1 o'clock to uh, offer hope and healing. But when we say healing, we literally mean that. Anybody who has any pain in your body, any type of health condition, please let us know. We're more than happy to support you. We can support you with healing right during the broadcast, right during the live broadcast. If you are interested in such, please just put a comment and let us know. We're more than happy to support you in that way. Also, if you know of anybody who's dealing with any health challenges, send us a link to them. Invite them to come on. Again, we can more than happy to do it right on the broadcast. I can either bring them on camera if they like, and yet that isn't necessary if they don't. It's not required if they don't feel comfortable with it. Curly Conscious King, greetings to you, brother. Good to have you in the space, and much love, light, and bountiful, bright blessings to you as well. And so, again, anybody who you know who might be dealing with any kinds of physical health situation, regardless of what it is, or what the doctor said can't be done, or what the doctor said had to be done, I know that there are infinite blessings and infinite miracles that are available, and I know for a fact that there's nothing that's beyond God's ability to heal. And I'm thankful to be blessed with the privilege of being able to access that. Also, if you or anybody you know is dealing with anything mentally, emotionally, let us know. We're more than happy to offer that during the broadcast as well, in terms of healing during the broadcast as well. So again, please don't hesitate to mention in the comments. Keep in mind that a closed mouth does not get fed. So, if you want to take advantage of the opportunity to receive some healing, please let us know. If you want to help expose somebody else to the opportunity to receive some healing, please let them know and send them here. All right. But for today, we kind of have a topic. That doesn't mean that healing is off limits. Absolutely. If you have any healing need or desire, let us know, and we'll make sure that that gets addressed. That kind of was the whole point of doing these initially, at least to some degree. We started doing it during the pandemic, and we had people getting better from, all kinds of different issues that they had going on, and we're more than happy to do that. So again, please just let us know. In the meantime, there are frequently situations where I'll have kind of topic to go over and to discuss. And then typically I still do some healing regarding whatever it is that we're talking about. And so, what is our topic? What is our topic for today? Our topic for today is seeing a truer truth. Seeing a truer truth. You know, I've been on a spiritual path for a minute. You know, um, I've been on a journey for a little while, and there have been a lot of things that have unfolded during the course of this journey. I went through a spell where I was, you know, where I'd like put water in a bowl and see if I could make it ripple with my mind, or, see if I could make stuff move and stuff like that. Um, Obviously, healing is something that's come up. I've been blessed to do a lot as far as that's concerned. Um, there are times I'm able to kind of discern some things and whatnot. One of the things I've learned though is that there's a difference between being spiritually gifted being able to do certain things, and being spiritually mature. I've encountered many people who have different spiritual gifts. Some people may have an ability to kind of speak prophetically and to be able to discern some things that are coming. May be able to kind of uh, know some things that wouldn't be easy for one to commonly know using the five physical senses, right? And may be able to even speak to that. There are a lot of things that a lot of people are able to do. Not everybody necessarily is able to do, but there are certainly plenty of people who can and do certain things that are out of the what we would call ordinary. Um, One of the things that I've come to realize is that being able to do certain things, those don't display necessarily spiritual maturity. I've said before that being able to walk on water, being able to make something move from one place to another, being able to turn water to wine, those things are miracles. Those things are really signs and wonders. Okay, signs and wonders are intended to get people's attention so that the real miracles can take place. And the real miracles are a changed heart, a transformed inner beingness, right? And so that's what I've come to realize. What real spiritual maturity is really all about. Spiritual maturity can be observed by how a person perceives things. And a person is really at a state of high spiritual maturity when you get to a point where all you see is God. Hmm. Now, that's not where everybody's dwelling, right? That's not where everybody's hanging out. In fact, quite frankly, most people see problems maybe sprinkled in with some good things along the way. And that's kind of just part of what life is like on planet Earth as a human being, right? We come into this space where there is a variety of different experiences that we can have. There's a variety of different things that take place. Some of them feel good, some of them don't feel good. And a whole lot of people can have 1,000 things go well in a day and one thing not go so well. And all that's focused on is the thing that didn't go so well. And this is easy for us as humans to do. It's easy for us to get discouraged. It's easy for us to get frustrated. It's easy for us to get stressed out, right? It's easy for us to get, offended. Mm. And it can be easy for us to behave offensively, you know, do stuff that offends other people, right? That's easy. It can be easy to be, you know, kind of stuck in the past. Something that might have happened some time ago, maybe some pain, some trauma, some betrayal of some sort, right? Those are things that happen with people, living on earth. It's just part of the experience. We have the choice to do what we will. And some of those things are things that serve the greater good well, and some of those things are things that do not. Some of the choices that we make are things that support our highest and best good. And some of those things are things that we just want to do, but that aren't actually good for us. Some of the things that we do, are a lot of the things that we do are kind of geared by, directed by, you know, drama that we've got going on and baggage that we're carrying from the past, right? And so, with that being said, how we live our lives is focused based upon what it is that we're seeing, and what it is that we're seeing is based upon what it is that we're looking at, and what it is that we're looking at is based on what our sometimes predisposed uh, proclivity for paying attention to this or that particular thing, right? A lot of it has to do with our vantage point and our perspective. But one of the things that is true and that I've come to realize on this journey, and I kind of try to share some things that I've learned. I've had some tough times. Um, that were a function of some of my own poor choices. You've had some tough times, some of which were a function of your poor choices. And I've had some tough times that I didn't necessarily actively do anything to bring about. And you've had some things that you didn't necessarily actively do anything to bring about, but they happened nonetheless. Somewhere along the way, if you're somebody who's feeling led to be here and listen to this, is because on some level, you in your soul, you want more. You want more than what it is that the regular day-to-day humdrum of life has to offer. You want, to some degree, at least minimally, you want to engage in a life on a spiritual journey to where you can experience a level of transformation and where life can just flow better for you than it would otherwise. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be attracted to being on something like this. You'd be busy doing whatever everybody else is doing, right? And so if you're here, maybe as a function of pain that you've experienced, frustration that you've experienced, difficulties that you've experienced in life, and something deep down in your soul has said, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be. There's got to be more to life than just this, right? And so, you know, you wouldn't even be drawn to this if that wasn't part of your life experience on some level. And if you are a person who is on a spiritual journey, you're consciously on a spiritual journey, chances are you've been exposed to some things that's different than what the mainstream is exposed to. You've started to, at least to some degree, to see things from a little bit of a different angle, and maybe even have learned some things that are not what would be considered common knowledge. Some of those things, quite frankly, might have even frustrated you or irritated you or angered you to know that things are the way that they are. When you learn about the systems of this world and all of the things that are going on by people in power who are really mentally ill and experiencing varying degrees of a psychopathic headspace. You know, um, there may be things that may cause you to feel frustrated in the midst of that, right? And you learn about how different things are set up to benefit just a certain few people, and it may frustrate you to see that love isn't abounding as bountifully as you would like to see it, right? And there may be things that you've studied along the way that may make you question, why are things the way that they are? What is wrong with this place, right? And I want to say to you, it's certainly understandable to be there. I have certainly been there. I won't even tell you that I'm completely not there now. There are moments where I am, and there are moments when I'm not. But a wise person once said, or whether he was actually wise or not, I won't even uh, say. But something that was wisely said is that a little learning is a dangerous thing. There's some things that you've learned. There's some truths that you've come into on your spiritual journey, perhaps. I know that there was a point in my life where I was kind of spiritually arrogant, to some degree, because I felt like I was learning some things that most people didn't know. And on some level, had a little bit of air of a spiritual. Hmm, just lost the word I was looking for. Um, maybe a little bit of spiritual superiority, right? And I don't know if that's something that shows up in you. People around you might experience it. And the reality is sometimes people may envy it, even if you're not giving that off, maybe due to some sense of inadequacy that they may feel within themselves. But the reality is that if you're on a spiritual journey, if you really want to get to a point of, and it's fine being spiritually gifted. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's much better to be spiritually mature. And it's better to be spiritually mature before you're spiritually gifted because people can then use their gifts in manipulative ways, use their gifts in ways that aren't actually serving other people very well or serving the greater good of humanity or the greater good of the planet or the greater good of the cosmos itself, right? And so, with that said, how can you get to a point of overcoming your own sense of pride, your own sense of spiritual arrogance or spiritual superiority, even rising above the level of truth now that may cause you to experience frustration and anger and judgment towards other people? It's something that we as humans do. It's something that we as humans do. Often we do. And for us to get there, it helps for us to know how much we fall short of the mark ourselves, right? Oh my goodness. It helps us to be a lot less judgmental when we are really owning that we've got some stuff ourselves and just how much grace we're in need of. Oh my gosh. How many people are in therapy because of you, right? Or how many people need to be in therapy because of you, right? How many people, if you were a little bit more spiritually mature, um, their life would be blossoming more fruitfully, right? How many people, because of your lack of spiritual maturity, experience a ripple effect and then pass on some negativity to somebody else, who then passes on some negativity to somebody else, who then passes on some negativity to somebody else. There's no way for you to know that to its full extent unless God just kind of opens your eyes and shows it to you and makes it clear. And depending on your degree of humility or willingness to see the truth, you may accept it or you may even discount that. But what I've come to realize is that no matter how much I've learned along the way, there's so much I don't know. There are so many levels of truth that are beyond any level of truth that I have, kind of honed in on. There's always a deeper level of truth that God is showing me is always there. You know, in terms of this healing, there are things that God shows me, that, um, it's not common for people to know. Um, in some ways, it could be said that God can kind of show me somebody's business. Um, but it's important that I handle that in a responsible way, right? The spiritual maturity is more important than the spiritual gift. And, it can be easy to, to some degree, for a person who has, these different abilities to be able to think that it makes them special somehow. And the reality is that it doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, you're special just because you're special. There's no one that was made exactly like you. You're unique and you're precious. And you need a tremendous amount of grace. And you're no more special than anybody else. And you're no less special than anybody else. else. All right. We're all falling short in our journey. We all miss the mark sometimes. We all tend to see a part of the truth, thinking sometimes that it's the whole truth, and we cast judgment upon others who might not partake of the same truth that we choose to partake of, or who might not have things revealed to them the same way that they've been revealed to us. Sometimes we might think that we know more than somebody else, but it might actually be that somebody else knows more than we do. We just haven't arrived at that point yet. I've seen it both ways. So, how do we get to a point of seeing a truer truth? Because the reality is that right now we're seeing just a fraction of it. We're seeing just a portion of it. We're not seeing things as they actually are. And in the ancient Sanskrit language, there's this word called Maya. And we, in our current, you know, mode of thinking and languaging things in the United States, we translate that word Maya as illusion. There are certain people who are on a certain path in their life now who, recognize that a lot of what we see is just an illusion. Okay. But there's another kind of languaging that I think more accurately represents this thing that in the Sanskrit is referred to as Maya. And that's that things are not as they seem. That things aren't as they seem. That there is a truer truth than the truth that you are seeing, right? There's something truer than what you're currently seeing. There's a truer truth there. All right. And I believe it's important for it to be our endeavor to see that truer truth. To see that truer truth. There's something that I feel like God has been working with me on for a little bit. It comes from a scripture in the Bible. It says that the eye is the lamp of the body. And if your eye is single, your whole body will be filled with light. And what that's really speaking to me is the need for us to have a clear perception, for our eyes to be focused in such a way. And when I say our eyes, I'm not just talking about the physical eyes, but the perception, the angle that we see things from, um, our perspective on things. If it's whole, if it's not splintered, if it's not filtered through the lenses of our own baggage and through the lenses of our own brokenness and the lenses of our own past hurts and past pains, where pretty much what we're seeing is more so a trigger of our past experiences than seeing things clearly as they are right now. Based on things that you've experienced in your life, it's easy to think that people of a certain gender or people of a certain ethnic background or people of a certain amount of melanin in their skin are this way, and kind of categorize people in that way, and might have an experience with a person who might not be quite that way, but because you've got the filter of your past baggage, that's how you see them. Or there might be life situations or circumstances that come up. You might interact with this person who has completely good intentions, but because you interacted with somebody in the past who presented themselves in a similar way that didn't have good intentions, it makes it harder to trust. And so, again, seeing through the lenses of that past hurt. And while it is true that there are people who operate very selfishly, while it is true that we live in a world where sickness and dis-ease are manifest in profound and significant ways, while it is true that we live in a world that is really controlled by those who are super wealthy, whether we want to own that or not, whether we want to see that or not. Yeah, it's the case. And the things that we want, we don't even always know why it is that we want, but our taste has been cultivated by our past experiences and our past exposures. And we don't even realize areas where we've been programmed, where we've been brainwashed, and we think that what we want is what we want because that's what we want. And the reality is, a lot of what we want is what we want because that's been told to us in a variety of different ways, that's what we want. We've been programmed to want certain things. And so our taste and our appetite tends to be, in many cases, in the direction of that which is counterproductive for us, that which doesn't actually serve us well, or might give us some temporary satisfaction, but no real sustainable joy, happiness, or fulfillment, right? And so, as we talk about seeing a truer truth, what we're talking about is going deeper within ourselves to something greater within us, and doing that as a mechanism through which we can rise higher and ascend in our journey, if you will, right? And so, if we're to see a truer truth, if we're to get to a point where we get beyond our own arrogance enough to see that we're only seeing a very small portion of things, we're only seeing, and hey, we might get bent out of shape and try to control stuff. We don't like not being in control of things. You know, we don't like feeling vulnerable. We don't like the unknown. Even if even if something can possibly work out well for us, but we don't have any control over, we'll try to take control over the situation, even though it's likely to sabotage it, because we'd rather be in control of something not work out than risk it not working out where we didn't have any control. That's just all of that stuff is just really human ego, part of us that's trying to edge God out of a situation. But I want to offer you to consider the possibility that there's something truer than what you already know. Acknowledge that to yourself. There's something truer than what I already know. There's something truer than what I already know. And if you want to get to what that greater truth is beyond what you already know, I got a prayer for you. God, reveal to me what's truer than what I already know. And then make space in your heart and in your mind for God to actually reveal to you what is truer than what you already know. Whatever you're seeing, you're only seeing a limited portion of it right now. You know, I've been engaged in this work of transcending the matrix for, it's been a while now. First class was September of 2003. That's over 19 years ago that I've been teaching this. And what I've learned along the way, or at least one of the things I've learned along the way, is that one of the things that causes the healing to take place, one of the things that causes the healing to take place is for one to be able to believe in one's wholeness more than one believes in one's sickness. And sometimes those belief systems that we can have can be deeply subconscious. And the work that we do, we're really just acknowledging the presence of love in the place that people have held pain or problems or unresolved things. But at the end of the day, what's happening is for the person who's doing this work, we're being transformed. We're being transformed by the renewing of our mind because we're seeing beyond the brokenness and seeing the wholeness that's beyond the surface. We're getting to a point of seeing a truer truth. And in the process of that, our own hearts are becoming more and more purified because we get to a point where we realize that really love is all there is. And love has the power, real, true, pure love has the possibility of transforming any and everything. Pure love, this unconditional love of God, a love that's filled with grace, has the ability to transform any and everything. What the challenge is for us to get to the space where we're operating in that frequency, where we're flowing in that vibe. And I know that can be difficult sometimes. Sometimes, even when we're attempting to display and demonstrate this true unconditional love that I'm speaking about, this grace filled love that I'm speaking about, sometimes we think that that means that we still have to continually welcome somebody in their space, or we don't hold people accountable. And it's not that. Sometimes, as an expression of love for oneself as well as love for that other person, sometimes there needs to be distance that is created for them to be able to go on their journey and hopefully get it right the next time. All right. Sometimes there are ways where we need to demonstrate unconditional love, but not grant unconditional access. Where we need to demonstrate unconditional love, but not um, offer unconditional access. And so let's begin to do some work to actually help open us up to be able to see what is truer than what we already know. All right. And that takes a degree of humility. You know, no matter how smart you are or how perceptive you are, there's more that you don't know than what you do know. And in fact, there's a whole lot that you don't even know that you don't know. It's completely in your blind spot. All right. That's again, it's just part of being human, that we're only seeing things from a limited perspective. There's always a higher perspective than what we're seeing things from. Let us ask God to reveal to us and allow us to see from a God perspective rather than from an ego perspective, right? Anyway, let's go ahead and get ready to get into some healing. Again, if anybody's wanting any specific healing, please let me know. Be more than happy to address that. God, I know you to be a healer. And through the union we share, through the power of pure love and your Holy Spirit, I demonstrate you as a healer on the behalf of everyone who's present, open, and receptive to it. The point of neutralizing the causal root of all being stuck, of all experiences of being stressed out and continually triggered by negative experiences of the past, of all spiritual arrogance because of the spiritual gifts that we have, of all judgment towards ourselves and others, from the point of the causal root in the entire energetic structure of every strand of DNA in every cell of our bodies, every particle of our existence, and transmuting it into and replacing it with a sense of true, pure, profound spiritual maturity and transformation of vision and perspective to see the truer truth that you would reveal to us and to be continually receptive to multiple levels of truer truths being revealed. And thus maintaining a sense of confident humility. And I bear witness to our wholeness on this date and in this time and space called now. Thank you. Thank you for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. All right. So let's get into let's start off first and foremost with limiting belief systems. Limiting belief systems. We all got a plethora of those, right? let's start to address some of these limiting belief systems. Limiting belief systems based on what we've been socialized to believe. Alrighty, it's a lot there, folks. Limiting belief systems based on what we've been socialized to believe um, by formal education, what we've been socialized to believe from streets, peers, folks that we come in contact with casually. Limiting belief systems based on things that we learned, socialized uh, by our parents and caregivers and people that we esteemed as being wiser than ourselves. It's very possible that many people wiser than you shared things that were useful, but even those things had limits on them, is a truer truth. And so we want to uh, let's actually take the ego mind. Whew, goodness gracious. Replace the ego mind with the mind of God. Now, to do that, that requires a willingness to see things differently. It requires a willingness to see things differently. Strengthen that. And a sense of humility to accept that we don't know it all. I look at actually also look at false pride. False pride doesn't allow us to admit where we're wrong. Makes us want to win arguments. It's all part of the ego. The reality is if your ego wins in an argument, you didn't win. Ego won. Okay. And so you both lost. And if you were the one that had the illusion of winning because your ego won, you actually are the bigger loser in that situation because you think that you can rely on that. And you'll continue trying to do stuff in your own strength based on your own, egoic drives and not really rely on the greater uh, strength, which is really coming from God and pure in its motives than your egos are in its motives, right? All right, so let's see. Let's look at darkness in the heart and transmute that into lightness in the heart. Both darkness and heaviness in the heart. Transmute into light. Light as in not heavy, and light as in what chases darkness away. All right. Okay. Let's also look at generations and generations of misguided awareness. Okay, within your family lineage. All right. Want to go back 33 generations. All right. And let's look in terms of generations after you. 24 generations. Want to clear all that out. Make room for revelation of truer truth than what we already know. And boy, does that require a certain degree of humility. Not from the standpoint of weakness in terms of humility, not being humiliated, but I mean, just devoid of arrogance. There's so much that we don't know. And as much as as much as I've learned over the years, and like I said, I've been on this journey for a minute. This ain't my first rodeo. But my goodness, the longer I'm on this journey, the more I realize how foolish I've been at so many points in my life. Oh my gosh. And so let's look at even that tendency to beat yourself up for areas where you've missed the mark in the past. Strengthened to be able to see that from a higher perspective, from a truer truth, and have compassion to yourself, towards yourself, knowing that you were flowing in the best that you knew in that moment. Okay, and to make room for knowing better, and moments going forward, and all of the moments going forward. All right, and to extend some of that grace-filled love towards yourself as well. All right, all righty. All right. Something else I want to actually look at too is, for whatever reason, I'm feeling guided to explore toxicity. Okay. And to explore toxicity that we take in from environmental elements that actually impacts our brain chemistry and everything. All right. We'll look at various petrochemicals, um, artificial preservatives, artificial food coloring, and any other type of chemical additives, fillers, and things of that nature. Okay. All right. In terms of toxicity, I also want to look at um, emotional toxicity and the healing and transformation of that emotional toxicity. And actually, let me just look real quickly at the lymphatic system as well as the glymphatic system, and clearing those all out so that they're no longer saturated with toxins. Okay. And also optimize the functioning, uh, specifically of the liver, spleen, the kidneys, okay, and the blood. Hmm, okay. Yeah, there's spend some time with this issue with the blood and toxicity within the blood. Okay. When I again go to intergenerational issues passed down from one generation to the next, appear to be challenges and intergenerational issues within the bloodline. Okay. And also um, for oxygenation of the blood. Okay. All right. Okay. Want to also take a moment and want to look a little more deeply into this emotional toxicity. Um, let's look at any toxic shame. By the way, all shame is toxic. So please don't tell anybody shame on them. And please don't try to shame anybody or let anybody shame you. It doesn't mean there isn't a need to change one's mind and change one's behavior, but please don't let anybody shame you and don't shame anybody else. So take that shame and transmute it into constructive life living. All right. Okay. All right. And want to also look at resentment that we've carried, unspoken hostilities. All right. Transmute those into and replace those with um, real, true forgiveness, gratitude, acceptance. Okay. Doesn't mean we're accepting a person's behavior as okay. It's just that we accept that happened and we're moving on from it rather than remaining imprisoned by it. Okay. Now look at any toxic vengefulness or rage or hatred or bitterness. Okay. All right. And let's s- replace that sense of bitterness with love. And I want you to love yourself enough to replace whatever negative emotions you got going on with something that serves you more fully in the bigger scheme of things. Okay. All right. So we're still dealing with being able to see a truer truth. And so let's actually deal with non-attachment to the outcomes of things in our life unfolding the way that we think that we want them to unfold. Sometimes I say we think we want something because once we get it, we sometimes realize, ooh, take it back. I don't want this. So let's look at the humility to submit to the highest and best good that God has in store for you, which might show up differently than the way that you'd envision it on your own. Probably does, quite frankly. Okay. All right. Now let's unlock the mind a little bit, uh, so we can be mentally liberated. Mentally liberated from the prison of our own perspectives and limitations, and replace those um, with a sense of limitlessness. All right, it's going to need some more support. With a sense of limitlessness that isn't based on what you can't do, but based upon what God can. Mm. And opening up space to allow yourself to be loved enough to experience the best of what God has for you without judgment, Whew. Boy, that was a big break without judgment. Okay. But with joy. Okay. All right. Okay. I look at the fear of the unknown and address the fear of the unknown. It's connected to the fear of the dark, which might be also connected to fear of acknowledging darkness that may be existing within you. And sometimes feel a little uncomfortable to look at some of that ugly, yucky stuff that's inside of us in terms of our own funky attitude that we might have sometimes. uh, yeah, tell the truth about it. Set yourself free. Ah, all right, and let's replace that with alignment with. Hmm, okay, with alignment with um, internal peace. Alignment with internal peace and outward expressions of external peace as well. But not waiting for the external stuff to happen to be able to maintain and develop and cultivate the internal peace. The internal piece is based on how you're seeing things. A billionaire, a multi billionaire in the United States might feel like he or she never has enough. Person in Asia with barely anything can be extremely happy feeling they have all they need. It's not the external circumstances, it's what's going on inside of you. All right. So I'm going to do just a couple more adjustments and then we're going to close it out for today. All right. In terms of receptivity to God revealing to you a truer truth. Mm. So let's look at the willingness to have been wrong before. Hmm. The willingness to own that you were wrong before. And the willingness to submit to a greater truth, to align with the greater truth. All right. And something else I want to look at real quickly is your own fear of being judged by others. Sometimes we think that being right is required for our continued existence. And so we'll fight to the end, maintaining our position, even if we come to a point somewhere along the way where we recognize that we're wrong. We feel the need to save face because we don't want it to negatively impact us. All right. And let's place that with a sense of being divinely protected. That God's got you covered. And flowing in greater truth keeps you safer, keeps you more safe than trying to do it in your own strength and your own ego. All right. And let's look at willingness to lay the old companion of past issues to rest and to operate from a much more healthy place going forward. Okay. All right. Hmm. All right. I'm very thankful for what's shown up and what's been addressed today. God, thank you so much for the blessing that you've allowed to flow and allowed us to participate in. Those watching now, those tuned in later, and even me. Thank you for clarifying our spiritual vision to recognize that it's more valuable to be spiritually mature than to be spiritually gifted. May we therefore seek maturity, and maturity manifests itself as love. Maturity manifests itself as seeing your hand at work. Maturity manifests itself as extending grace that is based on not our own sense of righteousness, but upon your divine grace. And I bear witness to our wholeness on this date and this time and space called now. Thank you. Thank you for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. Well, beloved, I don't know who all has been here today. I know that Curly Conscious King commented earlier. Don't know if you're still here. I know some other people have come through. Um, I believe that all the comments today were coming from YouTube. I don't believe we had any comments from Facebook today. But I wish you grace and peace and pray that for you as you go forward in your day today. The reality is, hey, listen, there's a lot of good stuff that God has buried within us. And sometimes we just need to peel back the layers of our own issues and our own drama to be able to see the gift that's hiding inside. But there is certainly uh, a wonderful wealth of beauty and goodness and all manner of wonderful treasures that God makes available for all of us. And sometimes we just have to do what's necessary to get in alignment with those to where we can actually receive and behold and make good use of of those blessings. So anyway, that wraps us up for today. And I will see you next Sunday, which will be December 4th. All right. Shout out to all the bros. Anyway, peace and love, everybody. Catch you next time.